First of all, I'd like to start by giving all praises, honor, and glory due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Rakakadash, and double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and salutations to the Archeum doing this work in sincerity and in truth. My name's Amaf Kwan. This video is entitled, well, actually, I ain't thought of a title yet, but it's, hot topic being the mark of the beast, the RFID chip. Pretty much this is a video concerning a news update on Russia Today, which is Tony Blair urges UK government to use G7 presidency to implement inevitable global COVID-19 vaccine passport. Okay, so this is regarding the Internet of Bodies, or the alignment with technology and people. And if you've been following us for long enough, you understand that the mark of the beast is in actual fact the RFID chip, the radio frequency identification device. And that's the ultimate goal of these elites and top banking families, the people in control of society. And this is just one of the stages to achieve that goal. So you always had the phases, such as the passport in general. Then you had the bus passes, the transportation IDs. Then you have what you call an Oyster card today in the UK, in London. You have an Oyster card. Then you have contactless payments. So this is all phasing all the way into that ultimate goal, which is to achieve everybody to be chipped. So first I'm going to start by reading, find the cursor, there it is, the RFID chip scripture, the mark of the beast, Revelation 13:16. And he calls of all, both small and great, rich and poor, free and bond, to receive a mark in their right hand. So how he's going to be able to achieve that is by consent or conquest, in their policies, using deception to get as many people as they can chipped. Now, concerning the vaccine or the maxination, what you have is them changing laws to make pretty much anybody in the medical industry and people taking flights to have to get tested on a regular basis, and care industry, and it's a large amount of people that have to get tested regularly. But as you know now, that's gone up another level to anybody who travels, about getting everybody travel or have your usual liberty to live your everyday lives. Now, the mark of the beast is basically a device that they will use to put anything to do with you, such as your identity and your medical history and your finances, what you're worth. And you won't be able to buy or sell ultimately when it comes to the mark of the beast unless you have the chip, as it does tell you to receive a mark in the right hand or in their foreheads, and that no man might buy or sell save he that had the mark or the name of the beast and the number of his name. So that's that. So there's many other videos that you can go online and go into that more in depth. So now let's get to the article. Tony Blair has called on the British government to lead the way in the creation of a global ID that shows COVID-19 vaccine and disease status, arguing that the development of such a passport was inevitable. Okay, these are all things that these top banking families and the elites and the government have been working towards all along, under the guise of a pandemic. So let's read on. It says, speaking to the Telegraph, Blair explained that the digital ID could be used to track an individual's COVID-19 status. The passport would use QR codes to access and verify vaccination details as well as coronavirus test results. It says the ex-Prime Minister warned that without a common verification system, travelling will become much more chaotic and difficult to manage, adding that the vaccine passport could help lift a set of rules in place that you may not be happy with. So that's a pitch that this thing is going to benefit you. And if you take it willingly, then you can go back to living your normal lives. All right. So it's a deception. All right. And it's problem, what do you call it? Problem, reaction, solution, which basically is the government's form of setting a problem in front of you, taking away your civil liberties, and then once you are in a condition or a lower state, then you have to ask the government for an answer, and what their answer and their solution will be is the RFID chip ultimately. So this is, all these things are in preparation for that chip. It goes on to say, Blair has been a long-time advocate of new forms of identification. His new Labour government proposed the National Identity Card scheme, but the plan was ultimately scrapped by David Cameron's administration in 2010 amid privacy and civil rights concerns. So this is a whole plan to take away your civil liberties and your rights under the guise, as I said before, of a necessity. All right, it's inevitable. It's necessary you take this RFID chip, and it's necessary you take these vaccines. That's the pitch. Since the start of the pandemic, Blair has been advocating for new forms of ID to verify disease status. Last month, he told the world to prepare for a form of health passport, claiming that despite objections, it will happen. You see, because they have an agenda. Now, pretty much, if you have the so-called COVID-19, or you're infected with the so-called disease or not, you're still going to be treated as somebody who effectively is infected. All right, and you're going to have restrictions upon your liberties, right, and your freedom to travel, and also ultimately freedom to work, etc. So let's go from there. So this guy is making it extremely uncomfortable for people to have no choice but to accept the RFID chip, and also education is affected by it also. So now let's look up this word disease. Discomfort, inconvenience. All right. Now, you're pretty much looked at as an inconvenience to society if you don't take this vaccine. The same way you're going to be inconveniencing the rest of the population and the economy if you don't take the chip. All right. Now, so you're going to be, essentially, you're going to be looked at as a disease. You're going to be treated like you are a disease if you don't have a vaccination. All right. You're going to be, an outcast in society, so to speak. Distress, trouble, lack, discomfort, sickness. So let's look here. Disease, to make uneasy, inflict pain, to have an illness or infection. All right, so that's what we want. So that's the point here made, is that you're going to be looked as if you are a disease, a functioning disease in society that no one wants around or anything to do with. And that's the stigma that's going to be placed upon anybody who is anti-maxination. So let's go to this article in USA Today Travel. As we knew before, you had new COVID-19 test requirement for international flights to the US. So as the UK are speaking about this thing, it's not only the UK that this thing is going to be rolled out to regarding these digital passports, and the information regarding your COVID-19 status is also going to be rolled out, especially in Babylon, you know, and around the world. All right, it's a global thing. It's an agenda to achieve global maxination. So, as we said, you know, the tests are something that's going to be done, have been done in preparation for anyone who wants to be traveling or even go to work. You know, the idea is that you know, the incentive that you have your life back, but, you know, without disclosing the truth behind why they want you vaccinated and chipped in the first place. So anyway, this is the definition of G7. All right, because when you go back to the first article, which we're basing our video upon, they basically wanted to, here we go, Blair insisted that the rollout of global COVID-19 passport was inevitable and that the UK should use its role as a G7 president to take the initiative. Establishing consensus among G7 nations will be a critical first step towards worldwide adoption of such identification, he said. Alright, so now we're going to look up what is the G7. You go on the Gov website and you can see it here. It says the group has met regularly since 1976 to discuss key issues related to global economic stability. So what you would understand is that there's various different countries, which you now see on the screen, involved in conversation and discussion about economic stability and investments. And it's no coincidence that you have the banks and the financial backing to invest in this maxination and also the RFID technology, because the whole purpose is for this RFID chip is to control the economic deposition, if you will. All right, to control the economy. All right, you're not going to be able to buy or sell, so they're transitioning everything into a digital currency. So there's no coincidence why these banks are involved, because ultimately the people that control society are these top economic banking families. All right, elite banking families. All right, G7 comprises finance ministers and central bank governors of 7 countries: Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, and the United Kingdom, and United States of America. Representatives of European Union, including the EU presidency and the European Central Bank. All right, so there is a tumult or a consensus between all these countries and the governments and the people who control the governments to get everybody vaccinated and chipped. Now let's go down here. You can see what banks: the UK, you know, the Bank of England, Bank of Canada, governors of the Federal Reserve. All right, so that's evidence to support the statements now and what the scriptures say. And there's overwhelming evidence that the RFID chip is the mark of the beast. If the Lord's dealing with you, then you'll understand. All right, here's another article, health.com. A vaccine passport is nothing new. Some countries already require immunization certificates for diseases like polio and yellow fever to prevent global spread. And decades ago, international travelers carried international certificates of vaccination approved by the World Health Organization and sponsored by the US Department of Health, Education and Welfare Public Health Services. So the point is that, they're trying to turn this thing into a digital, something digital, and moving it from a paper-based thing to something that is, more easier, as they would describe, to access information about a particular person. But anyway, the point here is that these are all things which were put into place long before. Like I said, it's an agenda to bring out a new way, a new system of doing things. So anyway, that was a quick news update regarding the status of the RFID chip and this maxination, with the intent to get everybody to have a COVID-19 vaccine passport, something that's in the pipeline over here in the UK to spread across the world. So anyway, with that, until the next video, I'm gonna say shalom.